How's it going, YouTube? Hazard Sits here, back with another video. So, with the absolute boom of One Piece lately, I decided to do a series of videos to the best of my knowledge, and I'm sure some people are going to. There's some things in this video I may get wrong. It's really a lot to kind of keep all in your head with all of the changes to One Piece earlier on. As most people know, One Piece in English, Romance Dawn, dropped in late November of 2022. I had the fortune of, months before that, I got into the anime. My family got me into that. And I pre-ordered, I think it was 5 cases of OP01, the Wave 1. I opened up 3 cases of those. No, I'm sorry, 4. I kept 1 sealed, opened up 3, one with my family. And then I bought another pre-errata case, so I still have 2. But in sometime in around, when was it, 2024, PSA reached out to me because I had put together the first 2 sets in the PSA registry of OP01 Romance Dawn alternate arts and OP02 alternate arts, and they featured me in this magazine. It was the PSA magazine, kind of a humble brag, but so they interviewed me and everything, and I picked my 5 favorite alt arts from that set. I'd probably switch out Luffy leader for this one. I don't know. That art is just so awesome. But anyway, what I wanted to do is kind of talk about, go through the set and talk about like the difference between pre-errata and the difference between errata. It differs a lot. Most people refer to you'll probably hear people saying up to, which is one of the main difference between when they translated Japanese text on the OP01 cards to English. They kind of missed the translation, and the most common one would be the up to. So I'm going to go through the OP01 master set of alternate arts and kind of talk about each one, as well as and this is the promo for that magazine, so I would highly recommend picking that up if you don't. That's kind of that's the first promo card that has all of the Straw Hats on it, so kind of cool. Well, actually the first card that has all the Straw Hats on it, so it has everybody: Luffy, Jinbei, Sanji, Zoro, Brook, Nico, Robin. They're all there on the card, and it's the first card that has that. So, but that's not really what this video is about. So the first card in the set, one very popular. This was a really popular leader at that time. I think some people still play it, actually. So this is the Zoro from OP01, the leader alternate art. It is not an errata, so that's why you might see this a little bit less expensive. Even though Zoro is very popular, this card never had an errata, so you could probably you'll see this a lot cheaper than, say, the Luffy or the Law. So that's card number 1. Then we have a card that this is an interesting one. A lot of people don't know that this card was actually errated 2 times. So there are 3 versions of this card. I can't remember the exact text, but a lot of times when these cards get errata, they usually add the word up to. They might change the word character. They might say your field instead of the field. Things like that would are what was changed on the card. So this card is one of 3 cards, I believe, that was changed 3 times. So there's 3 versions of this card. A lot you might hear people refer to alpha, beta, and then the errata version. Technically, there's 2 errata. Now, a caveat to that is, and now I'll talk about the blue boxes later. So that's the Law. Then there is the Luffy. This has gone absolutely nuts lately. I think some sales went for around $10,000. This has since creeped back to around $4,000. So rip to you all that bought this at $10,000. I got to be honest. It's a great card. I kind of saw that coming when cards go up that fast and you have a new set like OP13 coming out that people are just going absolutely nuts for. I think the latest case price is around $2,500. That's going to take money out of the singles market, and everyone is just going all in on OP13 mangas, the red mangas, the God Pack, all the Five Elders and stuff. And this is just dropped like $6,000 in value in like a month. So you just be really careful out there. So this does have an errata version. And there we go. That's the Luffy. And I would pick that in my top 5 now. This is an interesting one, Sanji. I believe this card actually does have an errata version, and I can't remember off the top of my head. It might actually have a third version. I can't recall. But the One Piece site doesn't have it listed as an errata card, which is kind of weird. But it does have an errata card. There is a rare version of this too that also has 2 versions. I can't remember who pointed that out to me one time on my YouTube channel, but that was really cool. So I believe there are at least 2 versions, maybe 3 of this. I'd have to look into it further. I just didn't really prep that much, but that's the Sanji. It's one of those weird ones where it's not listed on the One Piece site. You can go out to just search One Piece card game Bandai, and you can go. There's a link for errata cards, like under the rules, and they'll show like a history of all the One Piece releases and the errata cards. So the reason why OP01 is so special is there's somewhere around 61, 62, maybe almost 65 cards out of the like 150 card set, or however many were in it. I can't remember how many cards are in the set, but most other sets just have a handful. Like OP02 has like the Magellan and the Garp leader, which I don't even know if the Magellan leader actually exists, but it was errata. But I'll do a series on OP02 decks, but this is about OP01. The next card, obviously one of the most popular ones, Nami. You can see it does not have up to here. Now, this is another card that there is 3 versions of this card. The beta version, it does say errata up here. And you have to be careful because even though it might not say errata, it could still be like the errata version. Because a lot of people just in the beginning, and you'll see this on these card slabs, some of them have different names. Like some of them say Romance Dawn, some of them say OP01. Just in the early time, people were submitting labels how they wanted it to be. And then later on, kind of PSA figures out kind of a standard to label cards at. So you're going to see some differences. And most of mine were submitted together. So you'll see like OP01 alternate art. But there are some slabs here that I have that will say like Romance Dawn for some reason. So anyway, this has 3 versions. I'm actually pretty good at this one. So the alpha version, the pre-errata version, doesn't say up to. The beta actually says up to 1 Straw Hat Crew type character card. And then I believe the third version gets rid of the word character. So I could be wrong on that, but that's how it is. Along those lines, here's the rare version that is errata. So you'll see that these are essentially the 2 alpha versions. One is the rare and one is the alternate art of this card. So very cool there. Next one is Luffy. This is a super rare alternate art. It is not errata, but one of the coolest arts I feel like in this set. So I put it in my top 5. Obviously, it's not going to be as worth as much as some of the other cards because it does not have an errata version. Another one is the Zoro, which very popular card, very popular character, does not have an errata version. But it has a very popular artist. Is it Akira? What's her name? I can't remember. I can never get her name wrong. The Japanese name is Akira Gawa. That's right. I should know that. She's one of my. At first, I did not like the art, but it just really grew on me. Like she does a lot of Pokemon as well, like the shiny Charizard from Paldean Fates. And the Charizard SIR from Obsidian Flame. She did the arts for that. Her art just like really grew on me. Love her art now. This is the Zoro, not an errata card. Excuse me. All right, moving on. We have Odin, not an errata card, leader alt art, one of the 8 leaders. One thing I'm glad about with One Piece is they changed it from 8 leaders to 6. It was kind of hard to collect all 8. You would have to pull perfectly in 2 cases to get all 8, and I feel like 6 is just much more achievable. You can open up 1 case, get 4 leaders, buy the other 2. There you go. Kinemon, this does have an errata version. I'm not going to read out what it is, but just be aware that this card does have an errata version. I have several of these. I think I hit him in every case that I pulled, I think twice in a few cases as well. So this is the Trafalgar Law. This does have an errata version. Here's the SR version that is errata. I think I want to say this was like the standard one up to. Can't recall exactly, but there you go. This is the regular version SR. This is the alternate art. Both are errata. Both were text or changed. And you can see on the title here, it says Romance Dawn. For some reason, for these, I guess, either when I submitted them, I submitted that, or I selected. PSA has a like a drop down menu. So if you're submitted cards before, you will know this, but just so you know, you kind of type in the description and then they'll look and say, hey, these are some of the cards. That's why you have to be very careful with that, because there'll be like Japanese versions, there'll be Chinese versions of these cards. And a lot of times what people do is they accidentally select the Japanese version because it just says JP. It's very easy to miss. And then they submit it to PSA. PSA doesn't catch it. And then they blame PSA when they were probably the ones that actually submitted the card incorrectly. Now, an argument could be made PSA should have caught that, but they're human too. They're doing their jobs. They're not going to catch it. So don't blame PSA all the time when your cards get incorrectly labeled. 99% of the time, it's you that did it. Sorry, that's just the way it is. It's human error. I've done it before too. I've had to correct it. Uses Captain Kidd. I love this card. Here's the regular SR version. One of the first decks I played when the game came out was the Kidd deck, using the starter deck one. So this does have an errata version in SR, and then the alt art, and really cool art too. Kidd's one of my favorite characters. He's just not in the show that much. So is what it is. We got the Dofi leader. This was a pretty popular leader for a time. There is not an errata version of this as far as I know. But it was just a really cool, when OP07 came out, and this got a lot of support with Warlords of the Sea. There was the Jinbei card that got banned. This deck was an absolute menace. It was really fun to play. I played it for a little bit. Dofi, very popular villain in the series. So there you go. Then we have the Kaido, one of the 4 emperors. I'm going to try not to say any spoilers in this, but this does have an errata version. So that means that, and I should have brought out the my leader cards. So another affordable option for this card would just be the standard leader that's not an alt art. I don't have one out to show. I actually sent away the Luffy's and Law. I'm not kidding, probably like 60 of each. So I'm sure I have about 60 of these Kaidos that were in my storage. So I just sent a bunch of the Luffy's and Law away. They're at PSA right now. Here's Crocodile. Excuse me. I should have brought a drink in here or something, but this does not have an errata version, just the Crocodile. I don't think this, I mean, some people did play this deck, but I just kind of feel like it wasn't ever meta, maybe. So then here's the Crocodile SR. Pretty cool card, but does not have an errata version, so you'll probably see this a little cheaper than most of the other cards. The next one is Dracula Mihawk, one of my favorite Dracula Mihawk arts outside the fact, and it is by Akira. I think did this one as well, right? Yeah. If you didn't know, the artist name sometimes is up here in the right hand corner. And there also is a little like marker there. If you can see that, it's like, it looks like a kind of a pencil and it denotes the artist. So like in PRB01, you can tell a lot of the SRs are from PRB01 because they took away that little pen mark. And that's one of the ways to tell. If anybody knows another way to tell PRB01, that's one reason why the mangas are so difficult in that. I don't want to get off track from this video, but just kind of a little nugget there. The artist is right there. So anyway, and then here is the regular version of the, this is the alpha version or pre-errata version, however you want to call it. You notice it says here OP01 alternate art. This one says Romance Dawn. I probably selected the wrong one or entered the wrong thing when I entered it. That's kind of on me. Then we have, this is a regular rare. This is a Dofi. I don't believe this has a errata version, but very cool card, blocker, and seeker, I think. Yeah, you can look at like 3 cards. So like very cool with Dofi and his power with strings and everything. I always like the art on that. So that was cool. And that is another, yeah. So very cool art. Love that. That's one thing about One Piece that, like the card game, that really got me was the art in it. The art's just amazing. Then you got Boa Hancock. This card does not have an errata version. So any blue bottoms that have this card, they're going to be the exact same card. That's why, even though Boa Hancock, very popular character, waifu, very well endowed, obviously, is how they usually draw the women. If it did have an errata version, it would probably almost be up there with Nami. Not quite, because Nami's just her own. I kind of feel like it's Nami, Boa, and then everybody else. But so there is an SR version of that card as well, but it doesn't have errata. Then we got King. This is the only leader that I did not pull out of my 3 cases of Wave 1 that I opened. I opened one actually in a loose box that I opened up later on, and I really regret opening up those 2 boxes now because they were blue bottom boxes and they're like $5,000 now. And I don't actually have a blue bottom box in my collection, but I have 2 cases, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to spend the money on a, I mean, I could have bought them when they were like $1,000, but I just passed. So anyway, those are going crazy. People are saying they're probably going to be $10,000 in a few years, which is great because in my cases will just keep going up and up in value. But it is what it is. I'll probably never sell them. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, this does not have an errata version. So you can probably pick this one up pretty affordable. So one day maybe I'll get all of the errata cards graded, but it would cost a fortune because there's just so many of them. It's ridiculous. The rare. So like this card, for example, has a rare that is errata. This is ulti, alternate art. She does have an errata card. She might actually be a common. I can't remember. Okay, she was uncommon, I think. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, it's not just rares and super rares you get alternate art. Sometimes you'll have other cards. Wait, she was a rare. I'm wrong. Take that back. Yeah, she was a rare. I remember now. Okay. So that's a rare alternate art. Then we have Kaido. Did I get these out of order here? Oh, okay. I know why. Kaido, alternate art. This was a awesome card back in the day. You drop this thing and you blow up the whole board. Every card gone. And this is the only card on the field. But you had to return like all your Dawn or something like that to do it. But it KOs your opponent's whole field. But anyway, it does not have an errata version. So probably not as expensive as most other cards. King, probably one of the more affordable cards. It is pre-errata. So this does have a pre-errata version. That means the SR version does as well. I just don't have any of those graded. So cool stuff. I probably have about 50 of the SRs of that, not the alternate art. So then we got Queen. Queen also does have a pre-errata version, which this one is. Was a regular rare in the set. So this is included in the pre-errata, which I don't even know if there's a pre-errata set out there in the PSA set registry, but it is what it is. Then we have Jack. Does not have a pre-errata version, as far as I know. You don't want to see this in a box. I think the blue bottom I opened up had this, and it had the leader king. Because I want to say in OP01 that the leader boxes only had one other card, maybe a secret. I can't recall. So anyway, all right. So that's all the regular set. There's some other really cool cards that are pre-errata of note, like Thunder Bagua. That has a pre-errata version. It's very playable though, so a lot of people like that. So I see in the future that might be pretty collectible. Cards that were playable. Then you have Radical Beam, which is just like a common card. Momonosuke, that was I think you rest it, and then it's a searcher, something like that, if I remember right. So lots of cool stuff. Nico Robin, she didn't get an alternate art. Jeez, this is annoying. Sorry, my voice, losing my voice. But anyway, so lots of pre-errata cards in OP01. I mean, that's just, it's its own animal, where I don't think you're going to see something like that again. Most sets are not going to have that many corrections. The most recent one, OP13, obviously has the ace correction, but that wasn't a text change correction. They actually put the wrong text from the Luffy SR or secret, or one of those. I think it was a secret. They put the text for Luffy on the ace card, because the top portion is the same for both cards, I believe, but the bottom portion is different. So moving on, this is not part of the alternate art set, but this is just the secret of Shanks. So I just wanted to include that. And then this is the alternate art of that Shanks. So this did not have an errata version. None of the Shanks cards did. If they did, they'd probably be worth a lot of money, especially the manga. And then here it is, the manga. I pulled this in my third box. So I was just like, man, manga is going to be easy to pull. And I've only pulled, I think, the Chopper, and Luffy from OP11. Isn't that crazy? Out of probably 30 cases. But I did recently pull, if you saw my videos, 2 God packs and a Shanks gold. So, I mean, I can't complain. But if this had an errata version, this version would be absolutely insane. I guarantee it would probably be like a $10,000 card, most likely. But the fact that it was never errata. Now, there is a PRB01 version of this, but you can tell the difference between them. They didn't put stars over the secret. So you can see in OP04, I think they started that. Does the Sabo have it? No, maybe OP05. No, OP04 does have it. Sorry, I'm looking at my Sabo. So in OP04, they started putting a star over the secret. And that's the best way to tell the difference. And there's also a stamp over here or something like that. So anyway, that's the Shanks. The last one is going to be Yamato. Does have a secret again, since she's a secret in PRB01. She has the star over it, so you know that this is the actual OP01 version. Unfortunately, a Romance Dawn up there. I don't know what I like better. I don't know. I kind of feel like it should be One Piece OP01 and then Romance Dawn alternate art, just alt art. But that's a lot of text. And sometimes when you have that much text, it gets kind of weird. This is one of the most beautiful cards. Probably my favorite art from Romance Dawn from OP01 is the Yamato. It's just amazing, amazing art. And I can't remember the artist on this one is... Dude, you can't even hardly see it. I can't remember. Somebody knows in the comment. Let me know. I can't see it on our magnifying glass, but I just absolutely love this art. Like I said, probably my favorite art from OP01. I mean, it's just gorgeous. That was the one card I was I have to have this card. And I luckily pulled 2 of them, in one in each of my cases. The last card that is actually part of the alternate art set for the PSA set registry, and I guess I should have said this, I believe only me and one other person have the full set. I don't know if I was first or they were. Uh, so it's all good either way. Um, not a not an issue. I don't care. But I know I'm the only one I think that has an OP02. But it's not really a contest. But it's kind of cool with the PSA set registry. Your set gets ranked like for OP01, I'm ranked one. For OP02, I'm ranked one. There's several ones. There's another one that has Romance Dawn alternate arts, but maybe it includes like the errata versions on here, and I need like a bunch of those. I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm gonna click on that real quick because I'm curious. I have my computer over here. Oh, that's probably gonna take a while to. So anyway, this is it is an alternate art. It's you get like what is it, 2 per box. These are actually in a PSA 10. I've been selling these on eBay for around 70 some dollars lately. These are really upticking. So this does not have an errata version. So all the ones from wave 1 and wave 2 are the same in white and blue bottom boxes. They are the same. So there's that. And that's the other thing to be aware of. Like one thing that people don't understand. Nah, I'll talk about this last. So these are the box toppers from OP01. There are 6 box toppers. 3 of them have erratas. You have the Cavendish that you could get, and these fell like 1 per box. So usually in a case of 12 boxes, you get 2 of each. I think it was pretty standard. I got 2 of like everything. So you got the Cavendish, does not have an errata version. You have Inarashi. I can never say his name. A lot of people call him Doggo. Does have an errata version. Then you have Cat Viper, Nekamamushi. I hope I said that right. This is an errata. They did change that. So this card is actually in the set. But you can only get the alternate art version of this card as a box topper. So that's how all of these work. They're all in the set as card number 8, 34, 48. But their alternate art versions are only as box toppers in OP01. Kind of miss that they do that. I like that when they did that. You have Alvida, obviously a very popular card for obvious reasons. This is an errata card. Probably the most expensive errata card out of them, pre-errata. So she does have an errata version is what I mean. So there's that. Perona is actually one of the more expensive cards, probably because she was playable for a time there in the Dofi deck, and she's a searcher, 1-cost searcher for 5 cards. She's a searcher and resorter, which is really cool. So she can look at the top 5 cards and search them and put them in any order she wants, if I remember right? From the top or bottom of your deck. The only thing I had a question about this is like, can you put some on the top and some on the bottom? That's what I never understood. So interesting thing. And then the last one is Who's Who. Nobody really cares about Who's Who, but did not have a correction. So there is no errata version of Who's Who. So those are all the box toppers. And that's the set. And now I need to put these back in my display cabinet, which is going to be a pain because I always knock them over. So that's the other thing to talking about. I wish I kind of did have a blue bottom box just so I could show people. But there's no difference between, in my mind, there's 3 waves of Romance Dawn. And I think a lot of people may disagree with this, but this is how I remember it from 2022 to midway 2023 when they released the white bottom boxes. So I look at it kind of in this way. When Romance Dawn came out in 2022, the errata cards were in those blue boxes. One of the most common ones, and I remember this in Reddit, people were talking about it, was the page 1 card. That people are like, why is the text different? And so there were errata cards in wave 1 Just want to be clear about that. So if even somebody has a case, I have a case that has a label that says late November on it when it was shipped. So I know it's wave one. But since Errata cards were in blue bottom boxes with wave one, I don't know for a fact, unless I open up the case and open up a box, if there are pre-Errata cards or not in that case. Now I have another case that was with the 4 cases that I bought when OP01 first came out. And I opened 3 of those cases, and they were all pre-Errata cases. So I'm 99% sure that case is pre-Errata cards. But I don't know for sure if the other case is pre-Errata. So be aware of that. When you're buying a blue bottom box, it could have Errata cards in it, just sadly. So, and this is how I think it happened. But people were opening up so many cases and boxes back then, they didn't really stop to check. And wave 2 for me, and I unfortunately can't prove this because, again, people weren't paying attention. When wave 2 kind of dropped, it was like in the February, January time frame. That's when I think the Nami and the Law 3rd version cards, because the alpha and beta, Nami and Law, were in the first wave. And then the second wave of blue bottom boxes they released had the Nami 3rd version. It had the Law 3rd version in it, as far as I recall. And then when the white bottom boxes came out, they had all the Errata cards in them. So your blue bottom box could actually have 3 different versions of cards in it. It could have all the pre-Errata cards in it. It could have all the pre-Errata cards in it plus Errata card. Well, okay, hold on. It could have all the pre-Errata cards in it, which is what we just went through. It could have the Errata cards plus the beta cards of Law and Nami. And I think there's one other card in there. Somebody said it was Sanji. I can't remember off the top of my head. Or the blue bottom boxes could have all Errata cards, as far as I know. Because I believe the 3rd version of Nami and Law were in the blue bottom boxes. And obviously, again, the white bottom boxes are going to have all Errata cards. They're going to have all the 3rd version of Law. They're going to have all the 3rd version of Nami. They're going to have all the 3rd version of, I believe, Sanji. So that's how I kind of view it. But the problem is right now that boxes are so expensive. People really aren't opening up blue bottom boxes. And since you can't tell which version, you just don't know until you open up the box which version of it. And people really weren't collecting data back then. Everybody was just opening up stuff. They never really took the time to try to figure out. So that's why a lot of people say wave 1 and wave 2, they refer to wave 1 as blue bottom and wave 2 as white bottom. That's not correct. It's wave 1 is blue bottom boxes. Wave 2 is blue bottom boxes. Wave 3 is white bottom boxes. And that's the reprint. I mean, that's how I see it. And, people are welcome to disagree with me on that. But when that's how it went. It's kind of like how OP13 right now has wave 1 and then wave 2 is coming out. They may correct that ace. They may not. And you probably won't be able to tell which version is wave 1 and wave 2. So it just is what it is. But anyways, comment below. Let me know what you think of this series. I hope this helped clear things up. I obviously might get some things wrong. There's a lot of confusion about like One Piece in general and kind of what kind of transpired with OP01. So I'd love to hear in the comments of things you think that I didn't get right. Any questions, happy to answer them. And please like and subscribe. I think this channel is really probably going to be focused more on One Piece than anything going forward, as I'm just having a lot more fun with it in the hobby. I'm somewhere in between the collectors and the investor. I say it sometimes in videos, I'm a collector investor. I mean, we all want to collect things that go up in value, but it's just no fun just buying sealed product and throwing it in the closet. That's just how I feel about it. If you want to collect that way, that's fine. I'm not, I don't mean to throw shade at you. It's just These are beautiful cards, beautiful art cards. I think it's just more fun if you, yeah, you know, enjoy both sides of the hobby. But if you want to just buy sealed boxes and invest in them, you know, that's just your prerogative. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe again, and I'll see y'all in the next video.